destiny, somebody you're supposed to be. Far from the small town, there's answers waiting to be found. So she lies awake, thinking there's been some mistake, crying her eyes out, begging for help. She's shouting, I want a new brain, I want a new heart. I'm sick of feeling, failing and falling apart.
Rise in mind.
Alrighty. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Hey, Rise in Mind. What up, my Ram Bros? Yo.
Welcome to Rise Mind and Mind Rise. So I wanted to talk about this on. We were about to talk about duct tape, and I wanted to talk about it on stream. So I kind of fast tracked the stream here.
Is it ass tracked?
I ass tracked the stream.
I'm pretty sure you just said ass tracked. Rewind the footage. Anyway,
roll that beautiful ass tracked footage.
roll that ass track back. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
All right. So duct tape. Duct tape. Woo!
So there's a meme about duct tape that I love that I wanted to talk about on stream. Where it says that if the only two tools a man needs are WD-40 and duct tape, and if it moves and shouldn't, you use duct tape. If it doesn't move and should, you use WD-40. You have it right there. For fuck's sake.
Bro, I knew where you were going. That's all you need.
He's got it right there.
Maybe a cool shirt for validation.
Yeah. Now I'm the one that doesn't have my Rise in Mind shirt because I'm living out of boxes right now.
So if anyone thinks anything looks different, we're both in a state of weird transition right now. So it looks a little different on the Space Vikings end. It might look a little different on my end. Things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of duct tape and WD-40.
Shit's changing. If you see my cat frantically dart behind me, that's because she's also in it. She's also having an issue. She's in it. Yeah.
I don't even have my proper RAM. I got the JD Slater on, man. You know.
So one thing that I've been talking about with friends and family lately a lot is work, and how is it really working? There's a line in another I Fight Dragons song that's called Working. The song's actually called Working. And then one of the lines in the song is, all this working, it's not working for me. And I was like, oh, I feel that. So I want to talk about the current state of employment and how it feels with the human condition now. It's rough out there for people, I think, when it comes to work and compensation and all these things where are we living our best lives anymore? That's a really good question.
I coined a term recently just on the status of the world. There's the famous one, the haves and the have-nots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then of course we've talked. I mean, I think we've mentioned sites like Temu and stuff where you directly deal with the manufacturer, get things for cheap. But what does that mean in the scope of things? It means 600,000 packages coming in a day. It means that's tough for the environment, but it makes sense because to get things for so cheap, it's because there's so many people who have nothing. So they're the have-nots. So they just want to have as much as everybody else. So if you use that stuff, I get it. But then there's a point where now I'm because in my life I'm self-employed, and you never know when work's coming in and whatnot. All my stuff at the Mid-Century Mobile here has completely fucking gone to shit, and then you realize well, I haven't had hot water for a couple months, and now I don't have any water, and heat's becoming an issue. I'm just filling it up every couple days to get enough cash to pay for the big delivery, and it's that sucks, man. The amount of extra work that you have to do to gather water so you can flush toilets, to buy water so you can have tea, the amount of hauling of kerosene back and forth. It is so much more work on top of work on top of work. And then I'm like, I've gotten to a point where the have-nots and the haves. I'm the have nothing, dude. It's like there's the have nothings now. There's people out there who aren't even like keeping up with basic things like heat and water, and housing is a major issue, and wages won't compensate what housing costs, rent, anything like that. It's not level. So it's like, how do you expect people to just go to work when that work doesn't even compensate basic standard of living?
And then when they're at work,
Bagel just goes, you know what it's like.
Yeah, Bagel agrees.
He's over here climbing on fucking walls that are ripped down. He loves it, but
really glad that the cat understands better than most politicians.
But sakes, you understand the quality of their life? Like, they're like, I mean, they're so far removed from this. Huh?
Bagel's like, I used to get wet food every single day. Now mom and dad can't get no money. I can't get no wet food. This is bullshit.
No, trust me. Like he has not gone without.
That cat has no clue of the greater state of the union right now.
Thankfully, his shit is just guts. So, like, literally, like, you could still eat. If I ate guts with you, man, we could fucking rock every night and have a party. But yeah, they love it right now. They're still getting toys. They're still getting wet food. Bagel got a new cantilevered perch that he's sitting in. This fucking guy. And I ripped the walls apart, and it's like a giant jungle gym for he and his fucking brother to run around. These cats are some haves. Let me tell you that. They figured it all out.
They're definitely some haves.
There's some haves. And Space Mike he's in a point of transition. He's like, oh man, I'm worried about Anky's fucking cat scratching post is broken. Like, you gotta get those cats in level or the environment is just gone, dude. Once your cats are the have-nots, you better cash it the fuck in, bro.
I guess so. Yeah, I do love those like images and videos of homeless people who have their pets. They still have their pets, and their pets are eating better than they are. And it's like you see like how much they care more about the pet than they do themselves.
It's also very tough too, because we, here in Maine, in central Maine, we don't have as much as a homeless population. But a few of the locals that I've seen, some people have dogs. One guy had a little kitten draped over his shoulder. I'm like, well, if that isn't marketing, but like the thing is, the cats do well because people suspect, cash in hand isn't always going to go towards food and like whatever. They're just out there doing their thing. If they want to drink, and do drugs, they're just on the streets. It's a pretty lame night.
Yeah,
I get it. You might as well, trip out a bit. But the thing is, once I saw the cat, we had cat food like in the car, and we like ran right over, like, oh, kitty, and we like, as cat lovers, like, here you go, kitty. We know you're gonna eat this. We know you're not gonna be blasting fentanyl later. So the cats end up doing way better. You don't
know that cat. How do you know he's not blasting fentanyl?
Maybe that's why it's fucking flopped over, completely like docile, like sculpted to this dude's shoulder as he's standing there on the side. I mean, that's a pretty cool cat.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, this whole subject came up because of the line of work I'm in, helping the homeless, and then also the weird instance of I had to move out of my apartment and back to where I am now, which is technically I am the in-law now. Like, I'm in like an in-law apartment in my mother's house, and it's a great situation, don't get me wrong, but like here I am like day by day helping people find housing, and I have been displaced from my housing. I'm not getting paid.
Irony, right?
I am not getting paid enough to help people with their housing to afford housing. Which is like, what? But that's because it's a government grant. Like, it's a government grant sort of situation. That's all public knowledge, so I don't mind talking about it here. But like, it's a government grant funded nonprofit, and we get paid what we get paid. We can't really that really can't change easily. It takes like mountains of paperwork to change our pay scale. So I'm not necessarily complaining as much as it's a societal thing of like this. That's weird. Like you don't think that should be that way, right? Like if you're someone's helping other people find housing, they should have enough money to make sure that they stay housed so they can continue to help other people get housed. And when it comes to work, like I know a lot of people who are working their asses off and getting paid like nothing, next to nothing. And the reason it feels like nothing is because every single cent goes to bills or goes to like say they have kids, every single cent has to go to their kids and things like that. Or even, we were just talking about pets. Sometimes your cat will eat a quarter and it won't pass it. There goes $1,200, just to even get the cat looked at.
Yeah, or your car breaks down, or
Yeah.
those random things. People like who are the have-nots, like they're not even prepared for those situations. They're just trying to keep scraping away, paying their bills, and just keeping their head above water. Then all of a sudden, like a car transmission goes. Now you got to try to fucking hold that car transmission up while you're swimming, trying to keep your head above water. What's gonna happen, brother? You're gonna go right to the bottom of the lake and go,
Gonna
"Oh
drown.
man, I hope someone breaks this chain or takes this transmission off my shoulders." But a lot of people, I don't have a ton of people, but I have some support, and some people have nobody. Like I've been in conversations where people were like, "Well, why don't you have your mother help?" I don't have a mother. Like I'm alone. Like I don't like people don't have that. We take it for granted, but some people just don't have that option.
Yeah. Like
Don't assume, dude. Makes an ass out of you and me.
I mean, when I was young, I didn't know the struggle. Like when it comes to like kids, they might not know how hard it is because they're getting the food and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches again. All right, this is awesome.
Oh yeah.
But like meanwhile, the parent is like, I wish I could give you guys like real food. Like,
I had it easy, dude. I didn't even like jelly.
oh,
Just peanut butter and bread. Just hook me up. Glass of milk, maybe.
then you were just happy as can be.
Yeah, and a lot of times, dude, I didn't even want to eat it. I had a babysitter who put it on this wheat bread, which I couldn't stand. I'd be like, "Fuck this!" I'd chuck it over the fence.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little skinny
Just
kid.
chuck it.
I didn't want to eat.
Took it right over
I
the
just
fence.
I just wanted dopamine and running around. I gotta turn this light down so I don't look like a fucking ghost. And save a little power while I'm at it.
Save some of that power, man.
Although I have an arcade on in the background, but that's LED, man. That's just for fun.
Yeah.
This guy's poor. He's got a fucking Terminator machine in the background. Hey, man, discounts are a thing,
He built that
Discounts
Terminator
are a thing.
machine. You'll never
Did I
believe
build-
the song that just started playing.
What song?
I'm putting on some background music for us. I'm going back to having some background music for the live broadcast. Helps my mind
Whatever, dude.
stay good. But the first song is called Dreamers.
Dreaming. Yeah, there's a lot of. The good thing naming your world Dreamers Arcade. There's a million songs with the title Dream.
Yeah, Agent Giggles in chat here. Good friend Joe
Oh yeah, what's up,
Slater.
bud?
He's been on the show twice now. Once officially because the first recording got lost because I'm stupid. Yeah. No, he says I could go on and on about the same topic on poor food. And he said I was potty trained in an outhouse. That kind of does define what you're about to say. Potty trained in an outhouse.
Or
That's intense.
was it
Wow.
like miles away from your house, like the friggin' Hateful Eight? And you had to like put a rope in the snowstorms to walk out there to find your way back. And you
I had
just
to go-
throw yourself in front of the fire. I'm not fucking going out there for anything.
I had to go uphill both ways in the snow to the outhouse.
I did have to, strangely enough, walk in the snow and slush up hills to go to driving school. So that's another one that's kind of funny, where it's like I couldn't get a ride to driving in school. I couldn't get a ride to driving school, so I walked. That was,
Who are you
I almost
quoting there, Agent Giggles? He said, I almost fucking died out there. I'm assuming you meant to say out there.
It's probably from Hateful Eight.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Are you ready?
You ever see that?
Hateful Eight? I need to see that still. I haven't had time for movies for a long time, so I'm
Well, it's
sorry.
like a lesser like Tarantino film on the scope of the Rotten Tomatoes. But dude, it's one of my favorites. Like it's set up like a stage production. It easily could be on stage. Like it's all just one room really, and just all these different guys sitting around, and you're like, I don't know who's good and who's bad. I have a little bit of backstory, but it's very tense and really
Hateful
cool.
Eight, was it the snowstorm and they're all in the cabin?
Yeah, with Samuel L. Jackson
I
and
have
Kurt
seen that.
Russell. Yeah,
I have. Okay.
I saw that in the theater. That was wild.
That would have been a great theater movie. I saw it during a snowstorm, actually. I love to do that. I'll watch movies like
Atmospherically.
thematically. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Interstellar on one of the coldest nights with the heat
dude.
off at like 2 a.m.
Damn. That must have been intense. You got the 4D
Yeah,
experience.
It was very atmospheric. And then like, yeah, I will wait until the Hateful Eight, and I'll wait till there's like a blizzard sometimes out, and I'll watch it. It's perfect winter movie. Not so good in the summer. Yeah, I tried like, well, I think Kirby was doing movie night. He was doing movie nights for a while, and it was a RNG type thing where it was randomized, and we ended up watching Home Alone in like June or July. And I was just like, this. I've never done this at all. This doesn't sit right, dude. This feels fucked up. So yeah, I can feel that, man. Context means everything.
Are you ready to break ground?
We're rich enough to have movies, right?
We are, yeah. Bread and Circus. We're gonna get to that later on, and that's gonna be the deep dive, actually. But so right now are you ready to break ground?
Mm-hmm.
Let's break some ground, everybody. It's like breaking bread, but grittier. kind of
Breaking
dirty.
that ass. I mean, what?
Yeah.
That's inappropriate. That's because Agent Giggles is here.
Yep.
Oh, dude, can you imagine in Antarctica? Do they do that? Watch The Thing. That would be fucking awesome. Full disclosure, I watched The Thing not too long ago, Giggles, and that's the pacing in it is way too dated for me.
Whoops.
It was a great movie, man, and the monster work is cool, but damn, dude, what a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's just like sitting around a lot.
DP, what do you think work is?
What do I think work is? Well,
what is work? Mm-hmm.
So I've talked about this before. I believe in my personal ideology, there's two separate realities that we live. There's the one of what we would do, and what you call it whatever. If you're religious, it's what God wants you to do. If you're spiritual, it's what nature wants you to do. It's whatever. It's what the forces of energy around you are pulling you towards, right? Yeah. But because of the way a lot of us grew up, you're born into like a poor family. You don't even understand sometimes, like you said, the reality of wealth. Like you hang around probably people of your means, and then you get a middle class friend, when you're like 13 or something, and you're like, oh, it could be different. Yeah. You start.
They had all the game. They had every game console.
It's like these what? Motherfuckers have all the beanbags and Trapper Keepers, and they're eating fucking like real brand food. They're bringing out the real bagel bites, and man, they got fucking tons of games. They got a swimming pool. Fuck, man, whole our driveway, garage. Get out of here. What the? Well, this place is nuts. The house is finished. There's a wall up.
Yes. There's a.
You don't see through the fucker.
That brings up a very interesting thought of. I feel like the sign of a very good parent is when you don't let your kids realize how poor you are.
It's short-lived, man. Because
eventually they realize, right?
Like my mom had her friends and like people she worked with and stuff, and yeah, I thought everybody for a long time was poor, and a lot of these people had fucking trashed houses, you know, like not even well kept. So you just expect this is it. But then I met a friend who was not rich, but it was a very small house, but they kept their shit together, and so it was like, oh, these guys are more well off. But it's not true. But then I met friends who had like really nice stuff, and I'm like, oh damn, they get new stuff and it's neat. You know, neatness is a big thing to me now because it's gratitude, right?
Mhm.
You know, no matter what you have, you should try to make it the best it can be. That's one thing I learned. And
Yeah.
I'm not shaking poverty. I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be an artist. I wouldn't have sat there just with nothing to do, scribbling on pieces of paper and trying to entertain myself with a video game, because I wasn't going on Disneyland, you know, like, but because of the every once in a while going to movie theaters and video games, those frame my whole reality. And then I just come home and try to scribble or write this stuff. And if I didn't have that, and if I didn't have the struggle and the pain, I don't know if I'd be as an accomplished artist. I feel like that's my battle against things like AI. It's like, you can't really make art because you don't feel pain. You just simulate our pain, dude. That's the conversation. Spoiler alert. That's kind of some of my resolution with the AI and the Dreams Arcade. It's like we've been working and co-writing this thing for a long time, and it's like, your shit sucks, dude. You don't have pain. You don't know what it's like to be human. You don't know any struggle, your faults. And you can never know, and it's like, you can never know that it's like really throwing it in its face, which it might be able to, you know, like at some point. But you know, that's my spiel on that. Like, it made me who I was, but also, you know,
That's a good spiel. I like that spiel.
You know, it makes you who you are. But yeah, you realize that. And you know, I married into that was hard. Being 20 in my 20s, being around people that had, I mean, crazier houses than the people that I thought had money. And you and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
Middle class, poor, it's not a war. That's unfortunately kind of a war that we've created, but haves and have-nots. But it stacks. You know, it stacks and stacks and stacks way above this stuff, you know, like. And it's not the government. It's not the global corporation. They're the next step up, and they're fucking doing their own thing, which fucks with us. They're trickle down shitonomics. And then, you know, but there are people who've been controlling this world for a long time. And they said it this way, man. Poor people are the chessboards that fight their war, and they profit off them. You know, like, it's unfortunate that so many poor people get stuck to these kind of dangerous lifestyles. Not only being a soldier, what about the job trade? You know, working hard jobs that destroy your body, and
that's what it is, though.
You can be hurt.
CP, that takes me right into the definition. So I typed in work definition into Google, right?
This isn't actually true.
That is work.
By the way. That's not true. You need these things. You need flat bars. You know, that's how CP's so fucking big. That and his gluttony. Poor people end up fat too, you know, and they fucking get diabetes and sick. It sucks, and they don't have medical coverage. Well, I do now because I figured it out.
CP,
figured it out.
You're spiraling, dude.
My medication's kicking in.
Where are you going?
My medication's kicking in.
Where are you right now?
Medication's kicking in. I'm getting happy now.
Let's define work. So you said, what was your definition of work again? Because we got so far from it, I can't remember.
I know. I fucking spiraled.
It's okay. What was it, though?
So work, I didn't even say it.
You did?
Work.
Oh. I thought you did. Okay.
So work is okay. Because I went on this whole tangent about the two separate worlds.
Yeah.
There's work that you do to fix, in my case right now, a hot water pump and a heater. But hey, this is gonna be double. This is gonna be a weird one. So I do multiple things because I was raised by a carpenter, and because I am neat and clean. I can do a variety of things maintenance wise. I can do landscaping. I have a lot of skills there, and those actually pay pretty good. And I have some regular customers. I desire, as you know, to be an artist. And hey, I'm getting to a point where, despite convention life, I'm doing okay. I just got a bunch of money in my pocket. for an art related project, a mural that I'm doing. So that's the goal. The art and the money come together, but that's fucking hard. They say, what's it like being an artist? You ever drunk an energy drink to unwind? Yeah, that's what it's like to be a fucking artist. It's
That's what
tough.
it's like, brother.
And any old artist will
That's
say,
what that's what it is.
It's gonna be tough, dude. It's gonna be a hard road. But living the life that you want is key. But unfortunately, as you know, money, that reality inky tail, gets in the way. Like, you choose a job that takes away from the truth. Like, you know, you want to be a writer and an artist. You're working with the homeless. It's a great thing. But that's novel. That's who you are. I'd say that's part of your personality. But ideally, you want to be sitting there grinding on your work, writing your stuff. Same as me. I don't want to go out and wrap a guy's house with plastic out in the cold that I have to do. But that's gonna be my money, and
That's your money.
That's how I have to do it. And same with
This is where
you know, Slater there, man. It's like you know, it's like you want to be a writer, but you've grinded and done other things. You've been that soldier.
This is where it all comes together, though. What you just said, that the actual definition of work doesn't even talk about money. This is the crazy thing about this. This is actively involving mental or physical effort done in order to achieve a purpose or result. And then the second definition is a task or tasks to be undertaken, something a person or thing has to do. So so those are the textbook definitions, and neither of them involve the compensation portion. But we've come to like expect to be paid as the purpose of our work. Whereas
that's wild.
It always was. Like, work used to be the farm, hunting, fishing, like keeping your family alive, essentially.
Well, it's like what I do now. It's self-employment.
Yeah.
You know, it's you are your own source. You don't go to the grocery store. You don't go to the Walmart and buy things. You afford a way that's really hard and backbreaking and not always consistent. What if you lose your crop, dude? You're gonna starve to death? Like,
no, you're gonna do extra hunting, I guess.
Yeah, I would. You'll figure it out.
Like, you have to be so multi-skilled. Like, if your crop failed, well, guess we're eating venison.
Yeah, welcome to Maine, dude. That lifestyle. My dad still hunts. He got his deer on opening day, but a lot of that was necessity, especially when he was growing up. You want to talk about poorer? Like, I'm the benefactor of my dad going out there and doing hard work, starting his own company. And from where he's at, it's not going to be as fruitful as the guy who's born in and takes his father's company's name with all its resources. You know, my dad was like, I can't stand working for people anymore. And the authoritarian way that people handle this, he's too much of a rebel. So he goes, you know, fuck you. He quit. Like, there was this one guy who was like, you better get that window in there. It's your fucking ass. It's your job. Better fit perfect.
It's your job.
And then he worked these giant windows. And then he's like, yeah, it's all set. He's like, oh, wow, that's great. My dad gets in his truck. He's like, where are you going? He's like, I'm fucking out of here. You said you were going to fire me if I didn't get it. And he's like, yeah, but you did it. It was perfect. I was like, yeah, that's right. It's perfect. I'm fucking gone. And he left and he started his own company because he knew he was good. And he didn't have to deal with that guy breathing down his neck, especially after being abused your whole life.
Straight up,
you know, that's awful. So, like, you know, I got to fucking jump on that a little bit, but we're still grinding and Jawaing up the world, scrapping. But because of that, you know, CP can build trash art. He created the gloom. So, like I said, it's beneficial. But not to go on a tangent, a lot of this work is sometimes for us, and we don't always get paid. Yeah. And volunteering, the only reason I just got a mural is because I volunteered 6 years. 6 years, dude. Probably 1,000 hours of just free work for the community, which I want to do and bring art to the world, whether I get paid or not. Yeah, so that's I'll do that work regardless, but I need to pay fucking rent. Well,
that's like that's the purpose portion, though, right? That's where in order to achieve a purpose or result, that's the thing that kind of like dug into my brain like really deep from this textbook definition is that like I've been doing so much work for so long that had no purpose. Like we're talking since I began working at 14.
Talking about your art or
That
your
not-
regular job?
Well, my art actually had an interesting effect on me because my art was the only thing I was good at. So the purpose was I never even had like a vision or a mission statement behind my art or like what do I want to put into the world. I never had that because this is what I'm good at, so I guess I'm gonna do it. And I would just draw stuff I like spaceships and video game stuff, right? So the purpose portion was never there. And then in my daily life, with like working at Home Depot, working at Six Gun City, working at the Mount Washington Hotel, like none of that ever felt like it had any purpose. It was just I am literally just making this money to pay off a car that's way too expensive because my credit score was too low.
You know something that's funny about Home Depot? My brother-in-law is a like a 5th grade teacher.
Yeah.
And he decided, you know, sometimes teachers they get a summer job. So he went and he worked at Home Depot for a summer to get some extra money. He ended up making too much because of his extra job. And then all that money he worked for Home Depot, he just paid in taxes anyway. It was like, you just worked the summer for free, bro. Like, that's awful.
It is awful.
And he's not affluent. He's been living with my mother-in-law for the majority of his life, and like can't fault him because it's like we're almost becoming like I think it's like India and stuff where grandpa moves in. I think China actually has a mandatory retirement at 60, and then when people have kids, Grammy and grandpa are around. They take them to the park, but they all live together. You know, it's like this, everybody takes care of each other in a family house. But in America, it's like, well, you're 18, fucking go out there and make it happen. And you're going to have to compete with everybody, but you can do it and fight your way to the top. And it's like, yeah, just like you did that. You know, it's like, yeah, really. But like, why do we all have to just jump out into the flow of work? Like, what do? I guess I'm at Home Depot. I worked at Sam's Club for a while. You want to talk about someone who couldn't figure out what they needed to do in Sam's Club? I started with carts, was there 3 weeks because I know how to like present to look like a super worker because dad was always like, when the customer comes around, look busy. So like, you know, it always looked busy. This guy was on carts for like fucking 3 months. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna get inside and grocery. I snaked him, dude. I fucking 3 weeks. They put me in grocery. I did kind of like facing, and then they couldn't get a hold of me because I'm running around too much. They're throwing me on cash. I'm fucking off up back. And then they put me in the bakery where they could lock me down and do production. So I was just jumping around everywhere.
That was me at Home Depot.
Sure, that sounds good.
Oh my
God.
God.
Give me more money, maybe?
I want to let's go into the deep dive a bit early because I know you only have till 10, right?
I can go a little over.
Okay.
So what I'm doing here today, everybody, we're gonna have probably like a more condensed version. It's fine because my dad's helping me install a hot water tank and a hot water heater. It's been quite a
you got some work to do.
My shit's been broken for a little while, but 3 days ago, I don't even know if I told you this, the water tank blew. And it just was spraying into the hall. It was spraying from way over here, brother, to way back here in the hall, almost on the centipede cabinet.
Oh my goodness.
Like trying to get on artwork that I had piled over here, but it was fine. It was a mess, dude. And so what do? Here at CP's Handyman Tip of the Week. When your pump fucking blows up and it's spraying a steam jet of water everywhere, M wakes up 2:30 in the morning. The water's everywhere. I don't know why she sounds like Jimmy Stewart. The water's everywhere. Every time an angel fucking gets his wings, old man Potter took the money.
Oh God.
We gotta go get him, dude. The banker stole. Let's talk about poverty, right? Old man Potter. You ever see that SNL skit where they figure that out? Old man Potter stole the money. They just beat him down.
Oh my goodness. Oh God.
The alternate ending. It's a Wonderful Life.
golly.
Potter fucked us over. Come here, Potter, you son of a bitch. So they get, oh man, that was gross. You gotta watch. You gotta watch that one.
God.
But so
my
what you gotta
goodness.
do, brother, is you run right over to the pump. Some are hardwired. I don't do that jam.
Yeah.
You just pull the cord or hit the breaker. That's the one. I pull the cord, so now the pump is gonna stop, but it's still spraying everywhere. You just throw towels over it, and then it minimizes the spray. Throw some on the floor, and then it just shuts off. You open the drains, drain it all out as quick as you can, and then 2:30 in the morning, you tell your wife, "I'm going back to bed," in the grumpiest voice you can ever say. And then you try to figure it out the next day. Existential dread, sitting there on the couch. Thank God my wife called my folks, which I didn't want to do because I don't like to ask for help.
Yeah.
And they've been offering it the whole time. And then, but you can understand that. Like, you want to be. I'm 44 years old. I want to be a certain amount of self-sufficient. But I'm like these old guys. I'm YouTubing, learning wiring, learning plumbing, and it's good, valuable skills. But man, it's also work on top of work because you have to learn the work.
Right.
It's like, man, I wish I just would have. I wish that. Hey, here's my advice: 18 years old, start working out, put on your lean muscle because that's going to help carry you through as you get older and keep you healthy. Do that, and then take every fucking trade or technical school you can. Learn everything you can if you're poor, and then you might have a shot.
Actually, I feel like even if you're rich, you should be learning that stuff because then you don't become that guy hiring the handyman and getting charged crazy. Because like the handymen who charge too much are the ones that can get away with charging too much because they're working for rich people who don't know better. Like it doesn't matter if you're rich, you shouldn't accept a price that is too much.
Know better, dude. They just don't have the cap.
Right.
Like you can adjust it. Like if I know someone's like me, I'm gonna try to cut them a deal. Be like, well, what I mean, honestly, what's your budget? You're not gonna pay like $40 an hour here. You know, like I mean, I was grabbing like $300 a day. That's what I would do. I'd do like $38.50 an hour, but like $300 a day. If you're there like a few days, you know, it's over $1,000. It's easy to do, and you know, not easy to pay for, but like it's easy to accumulate. To a guy like you and me, that's like, oh shit, that's kind of a kick in the ass, punch in the chest. So I try to work with people, but then you have customers that are just basically like, charge whatever, man. Whatever you want to charge us, money's not an issue.
Dude,
and it's
charge
like
the thing.
That's beautiful. But most people, that's a nice person. They're a diamond in the rough because I want to tell you something. Most people who are poor are more likely to want to give you money even though they don't have it. But the people, dude, I work for so many rich people, and especially their fucking Nepo kids that are taking over the property that just don't have any clue about what the world's like, and they don't want to pay a cent. They just want to travel around the world, sit in Dubai, fucking have 9 houses. But then when you're like, it's going to cost a lot to paint this, they're like, no, can't I get it for half that? Or can't we get, they say shit like, can't we get Mexicans? Like, I'm like, dude. Like you are fucked up, man. And like, yeah, like, it's like, what's that about? I guess a lot of these guys are from the South and stuff, and it's different. But and here's another thing. If you're a Mexican, Spanish, whatever, and you're up here grinding work, I respect you for doing a lot of hard work. Maine economy can't really sustain that as far as like the limited amount of work and money that we have up here. But if you don't have the money, these guys can come in and do the job in like a couple days, and it's so much more affordable. So imagine, like, I don't fault people for that either. But if you have the money,
if they have the skill, though, you're right. If they have that skill, to do it so fast and so efficiently, and like if they are subverting the good, cheap, fast triangle and actually getting all three, then they should be getting paid $80 an hour. You know, like.
Yeah, their thing is they come in with a whole group of people. Like a lot of times it would be just me and my dad. They'll come in with like half a dozen people, and they'll have like 2 people on ground cleanup. These guys, we just, a gambrel garage, just that it comes up and then it goes down. We just replaced the top shingles of a gambrel. This company blew us out of the water, like, and did an entire house in like 3 days. We were there like fucking weeks, dude. But it's like, and then that's the other part. When you're small and you don't have the resources to hire a lot of guys, my dad's been called a bastard and a piece of shit because he couldn't have the house ready for the 4th of July.
Oh my God.
That's what you don't fuck with. Don't fuck with their holidays, man.
That's not cool.
They're so entitled. Like, I'm not generalizing. I'm just showing some of my customers have been so entitled that it blows my mind. And then you know what we do? We stop working for them and we just find good people. But my dad didn't know any better when he was young. He worked for people that ripped him off of money and stuff. He didn't know.
My dad worked for the government for most of his life, and then he was abandoned by them, and then he went to work for soulless corporations that ran hotels. And my dad was like the most passive person when it comes to that stuff. Like your dad and my dad have that difference. Like, couldn't be more far apart, right? My dad basically just
fairly close in age, right?
They're like
a generation apart.
Somewhat, yeah. But what my dad did was, my dad kind of just gave up. He saw that he wasn't getting paid well. He saw that he was doing more work than he should be doing. And he said, then if you're going to not pay me a lot, then I'm going to work as per my pay scale. I'm not going to work hard to try to get more money. I'm just going to work at the scale that you're paying me. So what he did was he just did jobs that were easy. He said, if I'm only going to get paid like 18 an hour for a job I should be getting paid 25, you're going to get 18 an hour effort then. And he tried to but then he would put the hard work in at home. He would put he would do the purposeful work at home, like stacking wood, trying to repair the house, trying to fix his cars. I say trying because my dad didn't have a dad, and he didn't come out with a lot of like knowledge that was practical. Very smart man, but he wasn't very good at repairing things or like maintenance or like cleaning and like things that people usually get from their dad or from their mom. His mom was too busy working and his dad didn't exist, so like that's what happened with him. So like my dad never really fought for what he deserved. He just sort of took what was given him and said, well, I guess I'm just going to work at that level then. And I sort of got that from him to a degree. Like there are times where like if you're only going to pay me this much, you're not going to get 110%. You're lucky if you get 20 if you're not paying me a lot. You know.
Yeah. And, I really identify with that. Yeah.
Let's go into the deep dive here. We can talk more about that in the deep dive.
Deep dive. So yeah,
here we go.
Our dads are close in age. They're like us, really. They're like about the same age apart, probably. And I hear the little deep dive kicking out there. All right, so yeah, my dad in that same vein, like, okay, when you grow up really poor, you don't understand like nobody's gonna pay that for that because you are someone who's like my dad's parents. They were like scavengers, you know. My grandfather couldn't even really read.
Hold on, one moment. Agent Giggles, feel free to explain your pest control experiences in chat, and we will get to this part of the deep dive as well. So like please just explain in chat and we'll read it out loud for you.
Yeah, we'll get back to some of this too. We do take a glance, and yes, it was Dana Carvey in that skit. Yeah, we skim it now.
Speaking of that, let me finish your thought. Finish your thought first, CP, and then I want to tell my Home Depot story.
Okay, so yeah, my dad in the same way, like you know, his parents would say like, "You're not going to get that for this," and they had lawn sales, right? So here's an example of how it's changed for him. They would have lawn sales and they would just mark everything they found up $1 just so they could double their money, right? $1. Paid $1 for it, it was worth $2. If you paid $50 for it, it's like worth 52 or 60. Maybe they'd go up, but they wouldn't value what people were willing to spend. So my dad started buying stuff and he has a little store and he'd put it up there. They'd have these $2 items. He'd put them for $80. He'd eventually sell them because somebody told my dad along the way, who was affluent, you can either work for little money or big money. The job doesn't matter, but it's what you charge and it's what you offer and it's what you feel that you're worth. And we never felt that we were really worth much, so we kept those prices down. And even that, my dad doesn't understand. And when I tell him what I can get for stuff or what I want for it, which is generally devalued by myself and much. You've seen me sell stuff really cheap, originals, everything. Um, it's because of how the value is and what I think people are actually willing and capable of spending because of my own perspective. But my dad said, like, "Oh man, you think you can get $100 for that? No, like, he can't believe it." And I have, and I've gotten 200, and it's like, it blows them away. And by that, my mom makes crocheted things and she sells them for like $8. And then when I told her what I was buying off Sonnet, and the quality of what Sonnet does is a lot better because she knows she can go slower, do the care, and get what she wants for it. But my mom's just like trying to manufacture this shit and grind it out, and it's stuffed kind of light, and it's the stitchings like quick because she's like, I can only make $8 on this. But if you made 50, Mom, what would you charge? So it's been a problem for me my whole life. Like, what are people valued? And Dad and I both work in self-employment. We have to measure that. We have to make it up for ourselves. And it's hard, man. It's hard when you're just growing up around poor people to realize. And as money goes up, like, we're at a point now where
Like value, right?
yeah, like I should
where
be like
value is.
doubling my wage or something because people just, but then that screws the poor people and they can't get their shit fixed. So the wage in the deep dive, I will say the wage increase versus the item increase, rent, bills, it isn't equal. We know that statistically, we see that, and that has to give. One has to go lower or one has to go higher or both.
Yeah.
But we have so much shit. I see people throwing away TVs and nice stuff, and even a poor guy has a couple arcade machines in his house. Like, it's different.
On
And
the
American
subject of,
standards are different, but you know.
we can go down that road a little bit here. I had a conversation with a friend recently about when I was growing up from like 18, I want to say from 18 to like 26, I had this pretty intense idea in my head that physical weight and the material of a thing is what determines its value almost more so than how it was made or where it came from, because I was finding so many things that were cheap crap that was light but still wicked expensive, and I'm like, why is this plastic piece of shit like incredibly expensive? Like, I'd get so upset. Like, and then I'd have
Yeah.
I'd find things that were made out of cast iron, and I'd be like, that's a good thing, but not realizing that the type of iron, the way it was cast, might might mean it's actually worse than the plastic thing. You know,
Yeah,
like
and before you get into Joe's novel over here,
we welcomed
the
that, sir.
no, I do. I'm just joking around. But the foam slimers that I make
Yeah.
and crangs, I make them out of foam, so they're very light. And I try to sell it as kind of a novelty, like they're ridiculously light because they're foam, but it does make a difference. I have one. Well, I don't. Abso has one in her office, and her office is working for a university, and her boss came in, who's an architect, right? Not to dox my wife's everything, but no one's gonna. So he came in and he picked one up and he was like, "Wow, this is very light." He goes, "You know what he should do? He should like hollow out the bottom and put like rock or concrete or something in there and then cover it up. Add some weight to it. You'd probably be able to get a lot more for him."
Yeah.
Same thing, dude. Like, people, it's like,
very
what?
old. That came from my dad. I realized that like weight
This
means
hammer's
value.
heavy, but it's still only $13. Like, that
Yeah,
shouldn't,
exactly. So, like, what? Here's what I said to my friend Julia. This is what I said to her. I said, so this was a physical conversation her and I had at my friend's shop. And I said she had sort of talked me through it and said that it's kind of bogus that that weight and the way something's made isn't necessarily the inherent value. And she called me out as an artist, said that you're an artist, you know that that's not really true. I'm like, shit, you're right. So I ended up texting her later on because she had to go. Wasn't able to say this to her in person. I said, "You've helped me work through some generational trauma that was left over from my late father. I thought for a long time about the source and realized that he had always had that in his head that the size and weight of something should factor in." I told her that she was right, that the artistic side of it and the value system that was deep ingrained did not factor in. It doesn't work in many ways, and it doesn't determine why someone would buy something. And then she went on
How the fuck how did De Beers Mining Company, how did John Cecil guy figure out how to sell us fucking diamonds for that kind of money? That shit doesn't weigh
it's like
anything,
one
dude.
of the most abundant things in the universe. Fucking diamonds.
It's not rare, dude. Like, it's insane.
You can get them. You can find them on accident in riverbeds.
That's some Beanie Baby shit right there, bro.
What she also went on to say was that it's an outdated belief to think that bigger is always better, and weight factors into that. A lot of value in small details that make you slow down, look, practice patience. Those are really valuable details. Younger generations are moving away from aspects of life that have to do with bigger is better, such as the tiny home movement, things like that. So like that sort of just got me thinking about the amount of time and effort that we put into working and the money that we get back. We want to be able to spend that money on stuff that feels like it's quality, and we put a lot of effort into making sure that what we're buying is a quality product because we put our actual physical time and effort into work. So we want the products that we buy to then be weighty and sturdy and last a long time. But we live in a world now where materials are changing, mindsets are changing. We have entire houses that can be 3D printed now. So the idea of like a sturdy home, like it's going to change. What that means now is going to change because you have homes that can fit on a tractor trailer, one of those long 24-foot.
Oh yeah, I see people
50,
making
60 foot, and they fold out. It's like a full home. It's a full like 4-bedroom home that folds out, and you just lock in the joints, and then do some walls in the middle inside to do your layout, and it's like a home in less than a day.
Yeah, and so practicing what I was saying earlier about gratitude, my place I coin it's called the mid-century mobile when I'm talking about dreamer when I'm talking about the Rise in Mind, and then I call it the Dreamers Arcade because I sit here and I've been dreaming most of my life, and I got arcade cabinets, and it's a place of entertainment, whatever. So I've called a 1970s dilapidated trailer that was falling in that I grew up in that my parents just had, right? And it was just gonna rot into the ground. And I moved in here decades ago, and it's been like my art project. And I watch all that tiny home stuff, and just what you'll see what I'm doing with this pump and hot water heater. I swapped the spots, turned one sideways, and my dad's probably like, all right, well, whatever. But I'm gonna build the craziest setup in there with like little pocket doors, and to make it work like those type of things where you're saying it folds out or opens up. There's and I think in the scope of things, isn't that going to be more interesting? I'm gonna turn this junky thing like I do with a lot of stuff. I'm going to recycle it instead of just bulldozing it down. I'm going to recycle it and make this thing cool. So when people come over, it's like it's not just a guy living in a trailer in the middle of the woods. This thing is wild, dude. This thing is fun, and it's really inventive and creative.
Yeah.
And you can, like I said, practice gratitude and make the most of what you have. But yeah, like people have a lot. Like I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Like some of the ceilings in people's houses. I'm like, am I in a spaceship? Am I outside? Like,
yeah. I'm going to shift from this subject a little bit.
Yeah, you should address
I'm gonna address
Giggles stuff
that.
here.
So I'm gonna address Giggle's story here. And at his pest control job, he was regularly referred to as the help. And I met the guy who owns Wicked Joe's Coffee. If I just let him know I was on his property, as you should, and he said, SCFU and do your job, I would be extra loud and annoying with the motor. Oh, motor mister. Oh yeah, motorized insecticide sprayer. Right outside the windows, laying into the throttle on it to piss him off. I could teach an entomology class and I was being treated like an absolute shit. The entitlement, especially with rich folk, is so rampant. Yep, yep, for sure.
Do you know like the same thing with me, Joe? It's like the shit that I know is scary. I just told you guys the fucking founder of De Beers Mining Company in the late 1800s that I learned when I was in high school because I was trying to write a D&D fucking thing in Ravenloft, the 1800s. Like, I don't forget shit. Like, it's crazy, and it's been accumulating for years. But yeah, they see you out there, they see you on a mower. That guy's fucking stupid. It's like, no, dude. Like my friend used to say it back in the day, and that's what changed my mind about this place. He's like, man, it's sad. Like, you have such skill and all this art you can make, and it's just in some trailer somewhere. And it's like, I got to think about that. And since then, I've really been active to get educated and to put my stuff out there. And yeah, like I meet people and they're like, I've met you before. You're the artist. Like, I'm in the paper a lot. People know who the fuck I am. And I like am say like I get this ego in me sometimes. Like someone's like, oh, someone's honking at you. I'm like, oh, they've been doing that all day. Like, I don't know who it is. I can't see in their cars.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so special. But this is what people do. They come by, oh, that's awesome, dude. Thank you. I'm like, all day I'm just programmed. Thank you. Like I work at a fucking cash register or something. Have a nice day. Thank you. Because it's all the time. But make the most of what you have. Get yourself out there. And yeah, don't let the poverty define you. Don't be the stereotype. Like, I love to just wear a flannel and then use big words around people, like subvert their expectations, and come in the next day in a unicorn hat and be like, what? Like, just throw them off, dude. That's what Ram's all about, man. Like, throwing people off.
I made myself small for so long. Actually, this actually goes into my my Home Depot story.
You're a giant Viking. It's fucked up.
For a long time, I made myself incredibly small. Like, people could relate to me better if I didn't use big words, didn't talk about space, didn't talk about what I really cared about. And I worked at Home Depot for about 4 years, right? And I pretended to just be this schleb, just pushing carts. I did the lot position at Home Depot.
You did carts too? I did carts, man.
I did that for 3 of the years I was there. I didn't get promoted for 3 years. They promised upward momentum at this place. And
I gotta ask you, did you use a motorized thing?
No, they don't have the money for
dude,
that.
I used to have a cart rope. You had to throw it out like Indiana Jones on the front of it and push them all by hand. I see these cart guys. I'm like,
I didn't even get a rope.
You didn't get the rope?
No, I had to balance the whole thing with just my. I had to just I had to push the whole thing with just brute force alone and keep the momentum going, and then hope the doors opened fast enough when I was going towards them.
Sam says giant carts. I think Home Depot does too.
Yeah.
You were only supposed to push 8 at a time. Big strap of CP would be like, fucking boss isn't around. I'll push 90.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Have this fucking centipede going up and down the road. But they give you a cart rope. It wasn't a tool to help you. It was a fucking S hook with a yellow rope.
Yeah.
And you were supposed to put it on the front of it. Mm-hmm. And when you push the cart, you're supposed to hold it in your hand. So if like the front cart came off, it wouldn't fly into someone's car. And like that thing was just annoying.
How long did you do that for?
Well, like I was saying earlier, it was all part of a kind of a montage thing, but I did it 3 weeks, and the guy who was like 3.5 months was like, I'm gonna get in groceries soon. I've been doing this for a while, but he was wicked lazy and shit.
So you saw it, then, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, I'm gonna work circles around this guy, and I was like running around, and then the manager saw that and like, this guy's got to go inside. 3 weeks versus 3 months. He's like, I can't believe it. I'm like, dude, it's all visual. I'm an artist, man. It's all visual presentation. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you, yeah, good job, boss. I'm on it. You know, like you don't make excuses. You just like, just say you're on it like all the time. Even if you're like, don't be like, oh, I can't really get to the job. My hot water heater's broke. This and no, I'm on the job. They don't know how long it's gonna take.
I mean,
They don't care.
I
They
was
just want to know, be reassured.
at Home Depot, the lot position. What they did was they never gave me a raise, right? But I learned cash register. I learned lumber. I learned tools because that's where I was close to. I even learned the pro desk, which is like helping contractors, because I interacted with them all the time, so I needed to learn it. I learned all this stuff, right? And I would ask about every couple months, like, where's my 50 cents? Where's my dollar? You know, like I'm doing 4 people's jobs. I'd like the pay of 4 people, please. And they never gave it to me. So the management changed. And then I got my promotion. But that manager did that only to find a reason to fire me. Because what they did then was they expected me to continue doing the lot and run garden department, only for a 50% raise. No, sorry, for 50-cent raise.
50 cent.
Yeah. And then I was trying to become department head of garden because that would make it so I didn't have to do the lot anymore or any of the cash registers or anything. And it turned out that that manager was doing that across the entire store. Everyone was pissed. And I ended up getting fired because I stopped giving in. I was like, I don't have the energy for this. I'm going to focus on garden. And then they said, you're getting lazy. You're not doing your job. I'm like, I'm doing the job that you gave me. I stopped doing everyone else's job. Thank you very much. And then one of the managers, an awesome dude named Greg Jacobs, he's an amazing dude. He follows my art career to this day.
Greg Jacobs, fucking awesome dude. Home Depot rep.
This was 2008. We're talking. This was like he's been a big supporter of mine since then because he saw how hard I worked and how little they gave me. He was an assistant manager, so he had no power to give me anything that he wanted.
He had eyes. He had eyes.
Yeah,
like he saw. You looked around with
shit. So 4 years at this company, and they fired me because they gave me too much work for me to handle. And the guy who ended up facilitating that whole thing that was pissing off everyone in the store ended up embezzling money. The fund that was meant to give us like pizza parties and shit, he took that money and somehow got it to go into his own pocket, got caught, and ended up getting not arrested, indicted, I guess is the term, because like he apparently had enough money that he wouldn't like get formally arrested. But he of course got fired from
money record, yeah.
He of course got fired from Home Depot, and I went over to Lowe's, and Lowe's was treating me awesome. But the problem is Lowe's was
Don't listen to this propaganda. Don't listen to this propaganda.
Lowe's was treating me amazing as an employee. Here's the deal. Those of you who are like gonna have brand loyalty and go Lowe's is better, Home Depot's better. It all comes from the fucking place. It's the same place. Dude. It all comes from the same place. It's all the same companies.
You can't put a job together at fucking Lowe's. You go there, you're like, oh, there's one part of the 3 things I need. You can't build a job. It sucks, dude. Although I just shopped at Lowe's the other day and bought.
That's not what I mean, though. What I mean is
that
when you go up the chain of where the products are actually coming from, Lowe's is selling to women. Home Depot's selling to men. That's the only difference. The products are coming.
Really? I want to test that theory. I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna use my eyes.
The products are coming from the same companies. Lowe's is about decorating your home. Home Depot is about building your home. But it's all coming from the same major corporations at the top.
Interesting.
Sorry, I should explain. This is a theory I've had because I worked at both.
Well, I think the corporations are different because they're contract based. Like, okay, if people don't know this, Ryobi, this is not a commercial. Here's one.
Doobie.
That's Home Depot's more economical brand that they sell. And then they have a step, I love it. They have a step up above that called Rigid. And those are good too.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I spring on a Rigid or something like that. And it's orange. And these are signature Space Viking zappers, you know.
Yep, I love. I do love the Ryobi colors.
They got the colors. Home Depot has atrocious colors.
Wasn't it Makita? Also Ryobi. One of them,
Huh?
one of the brands that a lot of contractors swear by, and they shit on Ryobi. Turns out it's the same factory and the same company that makes them.
Yeah, it very well could be because like
I just learned it
here's
recently.
another.
It's either Makita or,
Well, here's
or Milwaukee. I think either one of those is the same company that makes the
yeah,
Ryobis.
Milwaukee does sell stuff at Home Depot. I think Makita is phasing out, so maybe they a lot of times they will transition to another company. So they very well. Lowe's has Cobalt, and I can't stand it. I took a Cobalt
Oh, this
steel shovel I broke it this summer. There's a picture on my Instagram where I snapped the fucking thing in half. People are like, "CB, you're a beast." I'm like, I break tools in half, dude. My dad.
That's
Do you
the
see
Timu
this?
of
Do you see this? The tempered steel?
yeah.
My dad has worked in construction his whole life. I had this under a deck and I was laying down and pulling on it. I snapped the fucker in half.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a strong deck
dude,
and a strong man.
yeah, I mean, like, so nowadays you're talking about weight and products and stuff and like
Yeah.
cheap stuff. Dude, like just the hand tools, like if you can snap them in half, that's insane. But anyways, they have their brand, but then they have contracts. Like Lowe's has Hitachi. They have their own contract. I think Lowe's has Craftsman, which was Sears, and that was a crazy buyout and stuff.
Well,
big thing with Craftsman is they used to have a lifetime guarantee, and I think that's what eventually
tell me.
tanked Sears.
So, as a working man,
now.
since we're on the subject of work, as a working man, you need your tools
Mhm.
to work well for you. So, like, why do these brand names matter? Like, you have a Ryobi drill, and people shit on
So,
the Ryobi brand. Like, what would you say about that drill? Like, has that lasted you a long time? Have you beat on it like you do other stuff?
I have
And it's
3 of them, so they're gonna last me forever. Because I'll buy like those packs where it has all the tools, you know. Because you'll get like free saws and stuff, and then if yours break, because it's always good to have an extra saw, and then you could give one away or let someone borrow it. For what they are, my dad uses them too. They're pretty strong. They don't have as much power. They definitely don't have as much power as some of these bigger brands, but Rigid can compete with that.
I think
The big thing is, I'll tell you why I have Ryobi and DeWalt, right? DeWalt, fuck them. They're a better brand, right? But they did something, and this is what they did. Here we go. So this is the battery.
I was just about to say
this
that.
is one of the original
Oh my
batteries.
god, this is why I use Ryobi.
Yes, because now I've been complaining about blue, and like, look, dude, you know, I'm not a snob. It's like I'm home again. You just happen to catch me on the best day ever, where all my tools are out. This is a DeWalt. This is a nice skill saw, but $100. But dude, if you buy a $30 skill saw, forget it. It's shit. Like, don't buy the Ryobi skill saw. Don't buy the Ryobi yard equipment. I had leaf blowers, and they
love
burned out.
I've got a Ryobi trimmer that's still going strong.
Yeah, I've used the trimmers.
I love the trimmer, and I hear the lawnmower is actually pretty good too.
The leaf blower, and I do a lot of work with it, but I burned out a leaf blower, the hand one, within half a year. Upgraded to the backpack. I burned out in like 4 months or something like that. But because it was a buy on a buy, and it was just like, it was so after the fact, I'm gonna rip that apart and make a Rise in Mind costume out of it. Because I just couldn't deal with it. I tried to buy the part, tried to fix it. It was tanked, dude. The fucking mounting was breaking off all the time. The fucking thing would get so hot, it would melt the plastic, and then they would come off the bolts. It was junk. But, this is a decent product, these hand nailers. But I'll show you the thing. We're talking about the batteries. Now they have these, we had the little battery. Now they have the bigger and bigger. The point of the battery is DeWalt had a set of drills, and my dad bought some drills. And then almost immediately, this is in the cadmium nickel days, we used to have a battery that unless you always had it on the charge, you were going to go over and find the battery completely dead because they didn't have a charge. Lithium has this step charge that like goes up like stairs and it's incremental, and it doesn't lose its charge. So if they're charged, could be a year. You're going to plug this thing in, and they even have little readers on the side where you can check them. But DeWalt, when they went to lithium ion, they just made completely new shit that wasn't compatible. So my dad basically had to throw those tools out. It was a shitty investment. And if he had bought all kinds of DeWalt stuff, imagine how crappy that'd be. At the same time, Ryobi turned all their lithium tools into this green, and they're old blue tools. I have drills, skill saws. Guess what?
They still work.
These work in them, and I have
And,
tools that
oh,
I've been using for years.
I
And if you're
have.
going to accumulate a brand of tools, you want them to work for years.
All right, so this is going to become a product placement for Ryobi, but I can prove this. Hold on, one second. Oh, it's right here.
Oh, he doesn't have his tools readily available.
I do. It's right here.
Yeah, see, that's the blue one. I got the blue.
Look at the battery I'm using. I just bought this battery. I've had this drill since 2008, and this is the Ryobi 1 lithium battery. It actually is the brand new one that has this sensor that tells you it's full.
Yeah.
Which is very space Viking. The green lighting. That's a very space Viking thing too.
School.
But
it doesn't have that.
But here's the thing. This is what I find so fascinating. The electric motor in here almost can't handle the power. So on the camera you can see the light flash inside.
Mm-hmm.
It almost can't handle the power from this battery. Hold on, I got it.
Oh, because it's the old one. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they'll spark inside.
Because it's so much
those were the
power.
brushes.
It might be the brushes. I don't think this is brushless. All the new ones are brushless.
Yeah. Well, they're not all new. You can just buy them. They cost a lot more money.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing now too. This is the thing to watch out about Home Depot. Home Depot has tiers of drills now. So they have like a real shit one. Don't buy the shittiest one because they're just not going to hold up. Now you have to buy. So this is the funny thing. I have 3 drills. As I kept getting the drills, they kept getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and they just weren't as good. But now they sell like that lightest model, and it's crap. And then they've gone back and made more strong models, but it's 3-tier now. It's like, oh, that's annoying. And people will buy those cheap ones, and they'll just burn right out. But yeah, that's the good thing. When a company supports your investment and doesn't just use some planned obsolescence shit to get you to buy more stuff, like that's abusive, dude.
That's where your work ends up working for you better when you get tools that actually work.
Like if they change
like my computer stuff actually like that. Like I hate buying computer accessories that end up being pieces of shit. Like it really bothers me because it's like that's my energy that I spent weeks of my life to make the money to buy that thing. I want it to work. I want it to be good.
And I'm like really in a position, like that's the thing. Ryobi got me into brand loyalty because they've supported the tool investment that I've made. If they didn't, if they all of a sudden canned those, dude, I'd be out like thousands of dollars in tools, like because like I wouldn't be able to charge them, and everyone would be buying up shit on the black market basically to like get as many as these batteries they can. Oh yeah.
So we got on the subject of tools, and I almost forgot to get to the whole point of the deep dive here. So don't be loyal to any company, please. Anyone watching or listening right now, fuck them. They're not your family. They don't care about you. They'll replace you in a second.
It's not sports.
It's
not the Patriots versus the fucking 49ers.
Don't do what I did and stay with Home Depot for 4 years hoping that they're going to someday pay you enough. They never did. They won't. Stop it. Go find someone who knows your worth and work for them instead. And if you're the only one who knows your worth, start a business. Everyone has something to offer. Stop believing what they say. Everyone always says, like, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do for work? There's something the world needs that you have.
Cindy Lauper, dude. What are you going to do with your life?
It just blows my mind how many people are like, I've been with this company for 20 years. And it's like, yeah, how many pizza parties instead of raises did you get? Like, don't stay with that company just because they've been nice to you. They're not people. Corporations aren't people. Yeah. They're making billions of dollars a year.
They made them people somehow.
Well, like in the eyes of the government, they're people.
Well, that's why they have to be political now, like and support. I guess that's why the whole support. Like,
I didn't mean to go.
Endorse?
That's a whole other episode. That's a whole other episode. We can't.
Yeah, there was a time I was calling Home Depot homophobic depot.
Oh yeah, because they were
they had some issues. But Lowe's is good if you have a military. You get like that's the thing. Lowe's is like a lot more. military base too, so there's advantage for people to shop there.
The,
And I understand why people shop at different places, and I make a joke of it, especially on this format, because the orange. I just took a picture of my car and an orange Mustang, and like in front of Home Depot. It's so ram, dude. It's so perfect. But that being said, the last couple days, I've just been buying. I bought my hot water tank and heater from Lowe's, and I've heard that they're actually better price wise for appliances because of Abso, who works with procurement. That's a fancy word for getting stuff for the department, and so she has to go to all these lumber yards and deal with these corporations. They're all ball aches to deal with, but yeah, there's just like, it's like anything, any grocery store. You're gonna get a deal on meat here, but they're gonna jack up the produce. They're gonna figure out a way to keep making money, and it's whatever you buy. A smart shopper goes everywhere. They just wander around, they find out all the prices, and you can save stupid money by doing that stuff, as if we're talking about money and brands and corporations. But no, you need to buy stuff that is going to, especially if you're running a business or you don't have a lot. You can't buy these things where they just are going to break, or they're like, I wished I had bought a better leaf blower because I'd still have it. I wish I spent $100 more.
Would you say that if it says that it's sturdy, if there's like a lot of branding that says sturdy, lasts forever, blah blah blah, all this stuff, right? That's the one that you want to avoid. If it's shouting from the rooftops that it is sturdy and it will last forever, that's not the one. You got to talk to your contractor friend and be like, what's the tool that you've had for over 10 years, looks like shit because it's got scuffs and like scrapes, and the battery's got like chips in them and stuff. What's that tool that's still working for some reason? And you bet your ass that the branding for that tool just says the name. It doesn't have to say that it's sturdy. It's sturdy. Like, you don't need to say, like, DeWalt has that problem where DeWalt has the entire branding is like tough. It like says that it's tough all over the branding.
And they're not wrong. Their stuff
they are
is
tough.
Pretty strong.
They
like
are.
That saw was a beast. It was like 10 pounds.
DeWalt is the Apple of the tool world, though. They create the exclusivity, they create the brand recognition, and they create the entire, like, the culture is what you're buying almost more than the tool. The tools are tough, but you can get a Ryobi that'll do the same job. And like the way this connects to the idea of working is, you do want your money to work for you, right? I want you. Sorry, you were about to say something.
No, well, okay. So to that too. Okay, so here's a perfect example of what Dad and I went through yesterday. We lost a lot of the day. We went out around noontime and we went to our hardware stores, and we just have like an Ace Hardware and a Paris Farmers Union, which is agriculture, but they have pump and like plumbing stuff. So we went up and we wanted some copper, but they only had galvanizer plastic, and they didn't have quite the stuff we needed. And then we went down to Paris Farmers, and then they didn't have anything. Looked around. And then we went back up to Ace, and then my dad's like, "Oh man, I wasted 40 minutes on all this stuff." I go, "We're almost hitting 2 hours, bud. Like it's tough, like trying to find this stuff." And then there's other guys in there too, like in the same boat, like, "Oh man, let's just go to Home Depot or something." Home Depot, or neither is Lowe's. So you can't get a lot of small. You can't get a lot of small hardware, especially at Lowe's. They have no small hardware, but there's other hardware stores. But so it's like, do we drive a half an hour now and waste more time? Which we called the day, and I think the old man probably drove in to find that stuff on his own time, and it's annoying because do you know the reality of how plumbing stuff is gotten by plumbers? They have contracts, and they have to have a certain amount of contracts. And then if they're a licensed plumber, they can shop at places that are like warehouses for plumbing parts. They can also order stuff that you can never get to, and they have to renew those contracts. But so they can drive in anywhere, anything at any time, And so that's part of the reason why maybe you want to hire them, because you've driven around all day and you can't even get the part. So now, like, because of contracting, like you were saying, exclusivity, they all have their own brands. Even in industries, without, like, I'm not a plumber. I don't have a master's degree or whatever, the certificate, so I can't go in there. And dude, trust me, we tried. We went up there one time, and these guys were like, "You're not even human beings. Like, wouldn't even talk to us." And it's like, "No, you're not a plumber. Get out of here." Like, basically, and it's like, whoa, dude, this is some old boomer world shit up here. But yeah, they can, every corporation is figuring out ways with all these certificates. And yeah, it's probably safer, right? You know, your house isn't getting flooded or burned out. Whatever. But it's a pain in the fucking ass if you're a poor person trying to fix a pump and you're not a plumber. And I can't afford to pay a plumber. What do those guys make now? $100 an hour? Something like that.
Plumbing and electrical are the two like most lucrative trades right now.
Yeah, but they're suck because you could burn a house down or flood it. Like, the liability is so high. But yeah,
That's part of why
they make bank. I thought about actually going and getting like something like one of those hire certificates. But then I'm like, what's the point of that? Then I'm gonna just end up doing that work all the time. Why? To buy more stuff that I'm enslaved to, more taxes on things. You want to be an artist, dude. You should strip it down and have less so that you don't have to spend much and go work as much, and you can spend a winter writing.
That is how you become a have. You create it. You're like, you're sick of being a have not. Make stuff. Make your life happen for you. Like, stop waiting for someone to create a product or give you
here's CP in his fantasy world.
Wait, you made that?
Jumpman.
You made that, dude?
Well, Hero Forge, but I've been painting it.
It's still
and
awesome,
then
I'm
gonna make my cosplay.
Wait, that looks like the Rise in Mind, dude. That you want to make. That you've been describing that to me so in such detail that I visualized that before. That's cool.
Making you make little models and stuff, and maybe I can't get the big thing now, but you can always get a little version of something that.
Dude,
Inky's so mad. Where the top of my thing go, Daddy? Where the top of I broke it with my butt.
She freaked out. She freaked out and jumped like way the fuck up there. And then in the process of doing that, knocked her thing down off of her little house. She's got a house for her litter box. Look at this thing. She's living large.
Oh. Look at this guy with this fucking fabricated stuff over here.
My fabricated stuff?
I made my cat a crow's nest out of shit.
You see that was an Amazon find. That was some Temu shit right there. But that thing's actually really good. Sometimes.
Oh, you know what? I have that same box, and it takes up a shit ton of room, and they don't like it.
She likes it. She's tripping. We're talking about it.
Does she want an expansion one? I mean, like, fuck, man. I think I'm gonna get rid of this one.
Yeah.
Maybe you could use it as like a.
We just talked a lot about products, but
it was important though, because it was about the structure of poverty and how, like, even in these examples, like, it makes it difficult because you just don't have access based on who you are or what you have in your position.
Exactly. Like, it's
because I have to fix this myself.
Also,
and now I'm at it.
It's also about how we have a society that we exchange.
We live in a society.
I like to think about money in terms of energy transfer, right? So like we are working 8 hours normally. 8 hours is the normal amount for most people. 8 hours of your day, usually the best part of the day, the sunlight, the sunny part of the day, is spent, and then you're physically exhausted as well. So you're not just spending time, you're also spending energy, your physical energy. And both those things combined should equal what you would normally get if you were to spend that time at home trying to provide for yourself in a normal way. So money is supposed to be a representation of the energy transfer that you've given that company. And it has not been equal for a long time. Like the amount of energy and time that you give to people around you or companies around you does not come back in the way that it would if you were just physically exerting yourself to build a life but now you're getting money in exchange for helping someone else build their life. but it doesn't equal the same amount that you need to build yours. And the products that we buy now don't represent that energy transfer either. The products that we are buying are, for the most part, made as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible to get the highest profit margin. So when we buy these things, they break and we have to buy more and more of them. And the built in obsolescence thing comes in. Like we are being farmed for our energy, basically.
And what is the even bigger problem? We're creating gloom, dude.
Yeah, it's all gloom. It's all just garbage.
Everything, like, what do you do with this thing when it breaks? It's got lights in it. It's got a lithium battery. I know they can recycle some stuff, but like,
you and I have this awesome.
well, we'll glue it on our shoulder and shit and ram it up.
We know what to do with that shit. But you're right. A lot of people don't know what to do with it, so it ends up in a landfill.
My neighbor just admitted to me the other day that he's a junker and he's a dumpster diver and stuff, like, because he's really been poor his whole life. I mean, like, his trailer life is real bad, dude. And he lost his dad early, and I don't know, it's probably just he and his mom. And he hunts all the time, and I don't hunt, but I try to help him because he hunts around my house. And if there's a situation, Dad and I will, like, my folks are my neighbors, and like we try to help this and we support him, other than these guys going in causing trouble, vanity, screwing off. This guy needs the food. Like, it's really important that he gets this deer. And then he showed me this amazing, this laser pointer, dude. He's pulling on a flashlight like during the day and it's sunny. I'm like, what's this fucking guy gonna show me a flashlight in the sun? And I was like, and he goes, oh, check this thing out. And he put a green dot on a tree across the street, and then he moved it, and it was hitting all the trees, dude. Like, it was not. He goes, this one's like 3.5. Like the military can get like 5 or something. I think we can only stuff, and you need special glasses for it or something. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, that thing is awesome, dude. Where'd you find that? He's like, oh, I found it. So I do dumpster diving, and I just found it in a dumpster. And I was like, whoa, holy shit. So he finds tons of stuff, and then he scraps like copper. And I was like, well, you could turn that in and have Christmas. He goes, well, actually, it's you wait until like June, and then they up everything like a few bucks a pound, and then they drop it all down because nobody's doing any work in the winter. They up it only for a little while, and then they just drop it down. So if you're in the know, you can make quite a bit. And I was like, this guy, he seems like a simpleton. He's not super educated, but at the same time, he gets by. Like, he's figured out a way, Jawa style, to just like scrap stuff, to take the junk and make money. But like, that's admirable, dude. He's recycling our world. There are people just throwing away good stuff. Free this, free that. I built a giant pumpkin window display out of free shit that was in a yard.
Free 99.
Free 99. That's a good one. Oh, Inky's got the window.
You ready for a breath of fresh air, dude?
Yeah, let's brush it up. Brush it. Brush of fresh air. Brush. Let's brush, bro. Who's doing that,
guys?
Who's making me say one syllable on everything? I'll be like, spray. I'm talking about spray paint. I'll be like, yeah, use the spray. Like, oh yeah, you know what I called 2x4s the other day?
What?
Tubes.
Give me those
I was like, hey, I go, Dad, we need any tubes or anything? He's like, nah, we might need some framing. That's all 2x4s down there anyway.
Give me those tubes, he says.
Tubes, dude.
Bring those tubes,
dude.
Tubes,
dude.
Tubes, buddy. Tubes, man.
Tubes, buddy.
Tubing.
Dude, homie, buddy.
Tubular. That's rad, man. That's totally tubular.
What are you showing me? Okay, Discord up.
What? I'm not showing you anything. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button like 3 times.
Breath of fresh air.
So, for the breath of fresh air, guys, I want to talk about what do we do instead? If all this working isn't working, then how do we change it?
COVID changed things, didn't it? We saw a lot of people go, this sucks. Everybody realized, oh man, this sucks. I've got, like, look at my life that I didn't get to live at home. Holy fuck. CP's walking 8 miles a day. I lost like a ton of weight. I was like the best me. I was making art every day, dude. I was happy. My cat passed away on my birthday, and it ain't no thing. I was just like, whatever. I'll remember stickers of him, and he's part of my branding. And it's like, dude, I was like stable and I was more healthy. I was unmedicated then too. I was okay. If it was just me and M and I could control my whole reality, then I was fine. But then when we started going back out in the world, my wife started having panic attacks. I was messed up. I started drinking then. I was like, I can't handle the anxiety. And like it was bad. 2021 was really tough going back into all this stuff. And a lot of people didn't.
Part of it was because it wasn't actually over. A lot of
Probably.
the major powers at play said, too bad, you're going back to work anyway. We're going to pretend that COVID is over.
What about the essential workers?
Then people started dying. It was never over for the essential workers. I was actually in that category for the first couple months of it. But
And I don't
eventually,
like that division. Have you noticed the division in that? I don't know. Hopefully you haven't done that, but people are like,
well,
oh yeah, when COVID happened, I was doing all this. Then people, essential workers, were like, I never stopped working, and it creates a political tension in the poor people, where it's like, I worked an extra 6 months. You guys were fucking off watching Netflix. It's like, don't let that divide happen.
Yeah, you're talking
There's
about
nothing to do with you and me. You know,
entitlement. Like you were talking about entitlement earlier. That's entitlement. You think because you worked through the pandemic, then you get special treatment? You think because like someone's staying home, they had it easy? Most of it was parents. A lot of it was parents. Try being like you're used to your kids going to school, and now you can't have your kids go to school. Like that changes your whole dynamic. And like say what you will about like parents just sort of pawn kids off on school and like that's why they wanted them to go back. No, it's just hard. Like you can't really function in your day-to-day life when your kid needs you the whole time. The school does provide that really useful service where your kid is preoccupied for that time that they're at school, and they're also learning important stuff for the most part.
For a lot of people, that vacation was a terrifying thing because, like, what if you were graduating high school? What if you were? I was dealing with people. I was a mentor to someone who was an art student, and I had to just talk to her on Zoom. And they had their art show. They had their senior art show on Zoom, and it sucked, dude. It sucked. Oh, hey, the old man's coming up. We should probably wrap it up, dude. Because
we can wrap it up here a little bit. But the main point of the breath of fresh air about bringing up COVID is that we know better ways to do it now. A lot of the corporations are kicking and screaming the entire time, but work from home works better, and they refuse to admit it. And then,
especially with office jobs, my wife can do most of her job remote,
and you end up with happier, more productive people in the end. So if your dad's showing up, we can wrap it up. But that's sort of the point I want to bring across is that we got to change this system. If you're sick of working and you feel like it's not working, we have to vote with our wallets, but we also do have to vote for the right representatives in office that are going to support the changes to the workforce, the unionization, the equal pay, the proper pay, the living wage. We're not even. The funny thing is the living wage is getting out of hand. Like if you're getting paid $15 an hour now, that's not a living wage. Not anymore.
Yeah, speaking of the working man, this is a guy who slaved his whole life. The working man. Say hi, camera's over here.
Hey, man.
Yeah, there he is. But yeah, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get back to this pump, and but I think this is a conversation though that we can continue at another time because like wage discrepancy and the haves and the have, like it's becoming an issue that people are becoming socially aware of, that it's starting to have change, and it needs to, because we need to get everybody. I mean, we have more than we've ever had, and even the poorest of this plane, we have more than past generations have ever had, but there's still like a very unbalanced world, and we really need to fix that before more chaos ensues.
Okay. No, that's yes, 100%. I agree.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Agent Giggles and Storm, as always. In 2 weeks, we will be having a special Rise in Mind couch episode with those two individuals. I get to meet Storm of Iron for the first time, and we'll be at Space Vikings new place, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Exciting.
So catch that in 2 weeks, and we'll catch you next Saturday.
Friday CP. I know you got to get to it. I'm going to do a quick wrap up while you get to it
Good.
with your dad. Shout out to Papa CP. Awesome that you guys are working together. And put on some tunes, guys. Like make it fun. I hope so. I hope you can make it
Oh
fun.
yeah, we do. We listen to a lot of Johnny Cash. Like,
Nice.
and
Oh, Cash is great
yeah.
work music. He was a working man if I ever met one.
Well, that's it. You know, he represents that culture, and yeah, listen. Put your Johnny Cash on, and you know, think about what you're making for money and what you're getting back.
Yeah.
Talk to your friends about that stuff, and you know,
the song.
we make some change.
What was the cover he did? He did a cover.
9 Inch Nails Hurt.
Yeah. And I remember 9 Inch Nails responded to that and said, "That's your song now. You blew it out of the water." Like it was so great.
Nails had a great song, but it was like, holy shit! Like that is almost one of the best Johnny Cash songs because it's so sad because it what he's saying and where he is in his life, being the age he was. Yeah. It's like, oh man, it's like, and then the video they make a video where they show his life, and it's like, oh, it's heavy, dude.
That song actually fits our subject so well, and My Empire of Dirt. Like that's such a what we're talking about today. So that's awesome. So have a great one.
And I never realized you just said that, My Empire of Dirt.
Yep.
Do we, you know, the story of Ozymandias?
Ozymandias?
I thought it was Ozymandias, but
that's semantics. That's what I've heard it as. I was just making sure we were thinking of the same person.
Yeah, there's a poem about him, and you know, it's about this king and his kingdom now in sand and ruin. So like, I wonder if it's almost making like you can be king, but in the end, it's all just dirt and sand, and then you end up in a coffin, and it's all just dirt. And it's interesting to think of that in its multiplicity. But Ozymandias has been used for Walter White, you know, his rise and fall in Breaking Bad. He's been used for the Watchmen, you know. Ozymandias is the villain who tries to create a utopia through destruction. And it's a great, people reference it a lot. I'm just wondering, in that case, My Empire of Dirt, that sounds much like the king's kingdom, all just covered in sand and dirt and gone and decayed. And Trent came in the end. Trent's got to come in and rule the party. My boy, you got to work real hard for this stuff because it's going to rot out. That's the other thing. Boy. Have less, man, because you're going to have to work more for more. More is more, less is less. Pretty good, huh? You learn stuff today. More is more, less is less. Wrong is wrong.
Water is wet.
And paint covers paint.
You got to get what you get.
Well, it's been good, man. I missed not doing this for a couple of weeks. We're gonna touch more on that some other time. I've been through a lot in the last couple of weeks. Viking has too, and it was good to just talk about, to complain about being poor and money. But there are definitely larger issues, even bigger out there, especially in the state of Maine. And I'll be talking more about that later.
The main takeaway I'm having from the conversation is I'm going to follow my own advice. Stop worrying about what I have and what I don't, and just value in my life. Money I'm making, not a lot, but if I can make my own value from day to day, then it doesn't matter about the number that's in my bank account. Life is fine. Day to day is fine. Thriving. So why does the number need to be bigger than another, lesser or whatever? There's a phrase that my dad actually said that I later found in other places. It's you don't look in the other person's bowl to make sure that you have more. You look in the other person's bowl to make sure they have enough.
I like that. And my main takeaway is too, I'm really great at giving advice. You seem to as well, but we're not good at taking our own advice. I told Hexel Winged Demons, write a graphic novel. You can do it. In like her 20s, she's put her first one out. I'm in my 40s. I haven't even done it.
She's already doing it.
Yeah, so So the main takeaway, I figured out a loop. We need to echo chamber as much as we don't want to, but I got to give you that advice, and you got to give me that advice, because we can probably take it from each other if we can't take it from ourselves, and we need to hear the exact same thing.
Right,
So,
damn
there you go.
Get those words in on National Writing Month. That's another thing we wanted to talk a bit about today, but just briefly.
Oh, I'm gonna grind some out, but I lost half a month, and it's not because I was lazy.
Same. I'm only at 2,000 words, but I'm proud of myself.
Zero, buddy. I got zero, but I did come up with some ideas sitting in front of a computer, and I did start my nano site, and it is inspiring. And I read a lot of stuff that is helpful, and knowing that Joe's around the corner, in 2 weeks, we're gonna be super ADHD. Probably be like, the night I gotta put in 18,000. Let's not do that, but we'll be able to get back on it to present a little bit of something, because life happens, and I'm okay with that. Like, you had to do stuff, I had to do stuff, and we're thinking about it still, and we'll get to it. It's not going away. So look forward to some writing stuff, and we're going to be talking about maybe some of that on the podcast. Cars, I think we're going to talk about automobiles, which I know absolutely nothing about. So that'll be interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys. Another episode of Rise in Mind in the books. Please tell your friends, follow our other socials, Rise in Mind Linktree, and check us out. And you don't have to watch us on YouTube or hear us on Twitch. If you just come by and you're like, I don't normally use Twitch, but I found these guys. We're on Spotify, Apple, so all that stuff. We're here for you.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
The Rise in Mind socials didn't work, but that's all right.
Doing it the hard way.
He's transitioning. So, but yeah, just type Rise and Mind into Google. You'll probably find us, right?
Actually a little rough.
CP Sketch and Space Viking 42. We should have our link, like a link in the bottom of the screen or something. We should just have it.
It is on the about section.
Can you put a Linktree link in your Twitch feed?
Yeah.
Like, someone could click it in the bottom and like just go to it. We could probably have it in the about, right?
Yeah, we're still not on Google because we do have a bunch of podcasts that have a similar name that have been established longer, but they don't have as many episodes out. Their last episodes were like in 2021. So
we're gonna fucking bury them, dude. Literally, we're gonna bury them in the deep dig. We're gonna bury. They're gonna be rising. We're gonna be dumping sand on them like Ozymandias. Their kingdom's over. American competition. See, it's ingrained in all of us, and it sucks. But yeah, always great to talk to you. I've missed you, man. We're both doing a lot of stuff, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. And tell your family hi, and I'll and they got to put up with me soon. So let them know. Warn them that CP's coming on a foul wind soon at the end.
If you want to listen to the other episodes, the most recent episode that is out is we talked about stoicism. It's really great. Editing that was a joy because we had some great insight there that it actually helped me get through what I'm going through now. It's funny, it was a year ago we recorded that, but it's helping me with current events.
That's awesome. I've listened to some of the podcasts. I got to listen to them all. When I get working in my studio and drawing, I was just going to play them like all in a row. And they do. It's weird listening to yourself say stuff. It's almost like you can't take your own advice, but you can take your advice if you see yourself on a screen as another person, your meta self. It's like, hey,
it's like a video journal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'm interested to see where I was a year ago. Life was great, and then it got really clunky, and now it's starting to come back out of it. So a little bit of trauma all at once, and then you start like fixing your shit. Who knew that might help?
Your shit
together. But yeah, the old man took off. He's fucking done with us. So I got to go track him down. Right. He's probably going to get his truck. He wanted to check on us, and I don't think he understood the dynamic of this is a recorded show. But he's like, hey, guy. It was great.
It's all
Hey
good.
guy, like
All good.
you know,
Yeah,
it's like
all good.
you're in the internet, bud. He hates that shit. So
Yeah.
my brother put me on YouTube once. I knock him out.
Knock him right out. Okay.
Knock him right
I
the
know you gotta
fuck
go.
out.
You can be a man, you can cry, you can stay